Hello and welcome to episode 24, part 1 of our warrior journey. We find ourselves in the hinterlands. We are a little short on time currently. So, plan for now is to do a little bit of fishing while we wait, which means that we want to go outside of Reventusk village onto the overlook cliffs. Because if you fish in the village itself, what you'll find is that you get easy fish because it's a safe zone for us. So I'll equip our fishing rod. Zoom in. File bauble. Not apply a bauble. Use the evergreen pouch before we forget. Then apply our bauble and begin fishing. We need more stone scale eel. So that's our focus at the moment. We might go to Ashara if open water drops continue to sort of appear on the bad side. But we'll do a little bit of fishing here first. I don't want to waste the lures, and we do want to get fishing up to 275, so that the basic plus 25 from our rod pushes us to the 300 cap for Ashara fishing. Yeah, so we've got something like an hour before we need to go again, and hopefully we'll be able to get Sunken Temple and possibly Blackrock Depths in this evening. We'll have to see. Oh well, looks like we're finding someone else to dungeon with then. um, Forget exactly what is and isn't viable as far as partying for dungeons goes. I need to check. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Do this Moragreen research again. And the clams. Casing. Ugh. More string will help. What do you mean, nice curse? I don't even know what I meant to have said now. Well, it's not. That's not. Well, I mean, I wouldn't recommend people to do that at 29 solo. Not as melee, anyway. I mean, Rogue has some safety with Vanish, of course. But some of the platforms, like you can't avoid like pulling 2 or 3 mobs and then more spawn on top of you as well. So yeah. Yeah, I can't see myself being on before 20 past 9 anyway. What am I trying to catch? I'm looking for stone scale eel, and at the same time leveling fishing. I could like run around on a mountain as Shara, dodging mobs and trying to find stone scale pools. Or I could sit here and have more reliable casts. Grinding out the skill for fishing, like you need lots of repeat casts in order to skill up, so it's more efficient just to be in one spot. I'm making the elixir of superior defense with them, but it needs 2 eels per potion. It's a really big chunk of extra armor for tanking anyway, and for leveling, to be honest. Like it just sort of adds up and plays into the setup of take less damage and have health regen plus spirit ticking between fights to keep fighting. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any fishing pools at all in the hinterlands coastline, which I must say I'd never noticed before, but then I've always done fishing elsewhere. So I didn't hear that cast. But yeah, stone scale eels are not all that common in open water, sadly. It's much more reliable from pools, but pools are also really awkward to find. We're at 260 skill. So the way fishing works is that you've got the open water, which is basically a giant mix of everything. So in the open water here, I'm catching yellowtail, cod, randomly this heavier grouper, firefin snapper, stone scale eel, summer bass, and glossy mitefish. And you'll notice that these 4 types of fish are all kind of on a level with each other. And to a certain extent the rock scale cod as well, but you find a lot more of the common spotted yellowtail. And pools essentially give you between something like 2 and 6 guaranteed either the specific fish the pool is, or like a sealed trunk or something. So if you find a stone scale eel pool, then you'll find stone scale eel in it. But the trouble with that is that you need to ride around looking for these pools, and you might be lucky and there might be loads up, or you might be unlucky and you won't find more than 1 or 2, and you'll be riding around and that time will be wasted. So like if I was just looking for fish to make these potions with, I'd probably be riding around and fishing away the pools that existed to try and get stone scale eel pools to appear. But because I'm also wanting to get fishing skill at the same time, it just makes more sense to sit and cast and fish, because the way fishing skills up is after X number of casts, your fishing skill increases. So, like when you're starting fishing, that number is 1, and then around level skill 70-ish, it then changes to 2. There's like a slight transition period. But and then it obviously after a little bit it becomes 3 fish and then 4 fish and then 5 fish, and like it's not always exactly that number. But it's generally that number. And as your fishing skill gets higher, there's a little bit more variance in how many casts it requires. No. So fishing skill is done by zone, and each zone has a minimum skill level required to avoid any missed fish. So, for example, starter zones like Durotar and Mulgore, Tirisfal Glades, they all have an initial fishing skill requirement of 25. And of course, initially you have no skill, but you can use a lure on your fishing pole to give you 25 skill for 10 minutes. So what you want to do when you're starting to fish, you get your rod, you get your lure, you use the lure, it gives you the 25 skill, you fish for 10 minutes, and then your skill will be above 25. And then in that starting zone, you just keep fishing and fishing and fishing until your skill hits 70 or 75. And then like the next break point up is like the second type of zones. So the barrens, not all of the barrens, like some of the oases have slightly higher requirements, but like open water along Ratchet, and Silver Pine Forest will have a skill requirement of 75, and all of the water in major cities also has a skill requirement of 75, which is why in the starting zone you want to fish and fish and fish until you hit either 70 skill with the +5 vendor rod or 75 skill, and then you can go to a city and fish more fish. And what that will have the advantage of doing is you will fish enough fish of the right types doing those first two zones to level your cooking to just over 150. So in the starter zone, you fish your fishing skill up to 70 or 75, depending on if you've got the +5 vendor rod or not. And then you move on to your faction city. Not Undercity, because the fish there are all ill and you won't get cooking materials. But Orgrimmar or Thunderbluff, fish there and fish your fishing skill up to 150. And that will give you the cooking materials to level your cooking to 150 as well. And it should leave you with some bristle whisker catfish left over. The highest level, it goes above 300. This zone that I'm in at the moment, the Hinterlands, this is a 300 minimum skill level to avoid missed fish. So with this quest rod from the Hinterlands and the the 250 skill that I had when I started here, I was using the baubles for an extra 25 to hit the 300 requirement. But other higher level zones also have higher level requirements for skill. Yes, they are. Eventually, when it's around, that you can get when the Stranglethorn Vale fishing event is on, if you win that, you can get the Arcanite rod, which is an even higher fishing rating, and the special fish that you can catch during the event can be traded in for like a fishing line and a fishing hat, I think it is, that give you +5 skill each. And then on top of that, engineering can craft the aquadynamic fish attractors, which is +100 skill for 5 minutes. There is a lot of competition. A lot of competition. It's the first to catch so many of a certain type of fish, so there's an element of RNG, but the fish can only be caught in fishing pools in Stranglethorn Vale, not open water. So you've got people running around trying to find a spot that is least contested, because each pool only has between like the 2 and 6 fish or something. So each pool only has so many chances of giving you what you want. So there's a lot of RNG. There's a little bit of skill and like knowing and predicting what areas people will fish in and what they won't. And then there's absolutely having your Hearthstone set in Booty Bay, because if you don't have your Hearthstone in Booty Bay, you just won't win. When I did the event win on my Warlock, back in, well, when vanilla was vanilla, I'd been trying for several months anyway. It was a long time. And then eventually Burning Crusade hit, and everyone was really hyped for the expansion and going through the new content. And I took that opportunity to do the event while it was less contested, and like get the initial and second win for the improved stuff through the quest. But generally speaking, it is very highly contested. I don't know how it will work with layers though. I've obviously not done the event on a layered server before. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some people really like fishing, some people don't. Some people hate fishing and therefore never take part, aren't interested. Um, the fishing pole is like super good though. And the other rewards for the thing are really good too. Like the rare fish that you can hand in. It's worth doing just from that point of view for the plus skill. Yeah, I mean there might not be as many people taking part on hardcore because in order to win it, you've obviously got to be able to travel around and through Stranglethorn Vale at speed to get from pool to pool, and also avoid aggroing stuff along the way. And so if you're possibly even in your level 40s, it might put you at a too much of a disadvantage. I think so. Yeah. Once this casting is finished, I'll look up my fishing info, because I haven't looked at max level fishing in a while. And it gets like really specific for zones and stuff. Well, yes, exactly. It's like having to use the 5-minute baubles, like for the aquadynamic fish attractors. Like they're good and they're not too hard to craft with engineering, but it's still kind of a pain. Right. Let me just have a look at um um so yeah, so level 40 to 55 zones. Um so Shara Outer Coastline, Desolus in Maridon, Bellwood, Ferrelas, Hinterlands, Moonglade, Stranglethorn Vale, but only Jaguaro Isle, where King Mukla is. Swamp of Sorrows, the temple area. Tanaris, Ungoro Crater, Western Plaguelands. Those are all skill 300. And then the 55 to 60 zones are harder to fish. So you're talking Azshara at Bay of Storms, Hetera's Clutch, Scalebeard's Cave only. Burning Steps, Deadwind Pass, Eastern Plaguelands, including Stratholme, Silithus, Zul'Gurub, and Western Plaguelands where Sholomance is, and Winterspring. Those are all skill 425. So all of the best fishing zones are skill 425. Yeah, and remember that's the minimum requirement to avoid mist fish. And if your skill is sort of 25 points below, you get missed fish relatively regularly. So if it's significantly lower, you're going to miss a lot. Right, I'm just making sure that what I was doing was not the Burning Crusade and Beyond stuff. So from the fishing event, you can get the +5 fishing hat, +5 fishing boots, and a +5 eye test Eternium line. But the line is attached to a rod, and you only want to put that really on the Arcanet fishing pole. I think that item possibly requires winning the fishing event a second time. Oh no, no, rare fish. What was the I'm sure there was a second reward from. Oh yes, the second reward from the extravaganza was kind of trash. Trash but cool. It's a trinket that turns you into a fish and gives you water breathing. But everything essentially breaks that form. So the fishing pole's the best thing. Anyway, if you had 300 plus 25 from the Nat Pagel's rod, which Alliance don't get, of course, and you had the 3 plus 5 skill items from the fishing, so that's 15 total. That takes you to 340 skill. And if you had a 75 lure on that 340 skill, it does not take you to like close to the 45 cap. But if you have the Arcanite rod, which is plus 35, then instead you're going that extra plus 10 and you're hitting with a 75 lure the 425 cap, which means you no longer need the hyper expensive aquadynamic fish attractors that only last 5 minutes. You can use the lower skill ones, which last 10 minutes instead. And those can also be bought from vendors, and you don't have to worry about getting them the materials and having them crafted and all of the rest of it. There's also a +2. There's a glove enchant that does +2 fishing. So it doesn't really have any particular impact because of how like all the skill level stuff lines up. But if you didn't have the Arcanite rod, you were using the +25 one, or alternatively, if you were Alliance, you didn't have the Arcanite rod, they can only get +20. So even with the 100 skill lure, they still fall short. So the +2 fishing enchant is much more important for Alliance than it is to Horde. but it's all about not needing those like annoying, irritating lures, essentially, because you don't want to reapply them every 5 minutes, especially if you're riding around going pool to pool. You'll potentially use more of them, and you have to get them crafted, which is, well, it's extra effort that you don't need. But yeah, that's why the fishing rod is so very, very good. It's a big. It doesn't look like it, but it's a really big quality of life, and just allows you to hit peak skill with an easier lure. Yes, that's right. We as Horde with the 75 skill bauble, and the quest rod from Hinterlands, and all of the 3+5 fishing things, you could get 417 fishing skill. Well, I mean, the easiest way to test that is to make a new character, get them to skill level what 17 in fishing, and click off your bauble buff and see what happens. See how much you miss. And all I can say is that if you get misses at low level, you're getting 1 skill per cast, so it won't take you a long time to push through that. But if you're getting the same number of misses at a high level, because of the number of casts per skill point, it's going to be really noticeable, but also a missed fish does not count anything towards fishing skill gain. It's just wasted time. What am I at the moment? It means your fish got away. You missed the fish. Fish gone. Nothing. all you see is a little message in the middle of your screen saying your fish got away. You get no skill for it, and you get no fish for it. Nothing. I mean, I can click the fishing buff off in a minute if you want, and then we can see how often we get something missed. When we hit 270 skill, we'll be 5 below the cap without the buff. There we go. If I... Oh. Can I not? No. Yeah, it's... because it's on the item, I can't just click it off. So I'll have to wait for it to expire. So I'll continue fishing. And in about 4.5 minutes time when that does expire, we'll see what lower skill does. But it makes you miss more than you think. Okay, so the buffer's expired now. So we're officially in missing stuff territory. Oh, great, with some solid blasting powder. How fun. You can get much better stuff from crates than that. So we're 4 skill points down. So we probably won't be missing like too much. You know, 3 skill points below the cap. So like I'd expect to get misses, but not like loads. Um, there you go. There's a miss. Yes, I think there is a minimum. I think. Um, no, actually, no. There wouldn't be a minimum. It's just that your skill is so bad that you're not going to catch anything at all. Actually, what might be a good idea is if I go and buy a cheap fishing rod, and then you can see what the miss chance is like at 25 skill below. That might be a better demonstration. Because a couple of skill points down, like you'll get misses, but it's not going to have that much of an impact. Just going to clear up my bags ever so slightly. Just go buy that cheaper rod. I think that's going to be a more sensible demonstration of just how awkward mischance becomes. Right, so we've got on the super rubbish rod. So now our skill level is 27 points below what is needed to fish here. I must have to say I was expecting it to go worse than that already. Ah, there we go. There's a miss. That's one out of 5. Obviously, we've gained a skill point. 2 out of 6. Now you can clearly see there's already some sort of significant extra impact over what it was before. So 2 out of 7. 8. 9. 10. So that's 20% at the moment. Around about 30%. So, well, 3 out of 11 anyway. Three out of 12. Three of 13. Four of 14. Like you can see how noticeable it is. And you imagine you're having that level of miss and no way at all to improve your skill gain further. You're just stuck at that level of just failure. So 4 out of 15. I'll do like 20 casts total, and just to get a better average. Yeah, exactly, especially for Alliance, because you've got 5 skill less. So that's 5 out of 20, which is 25%. And that's a small sample size. There's another one. I'll swap back to the the rod that has skill. But hopefully that demonstrates just how much of an impact even like 25 skill below an area is. So I know you'd only be talking like 10 skill below. But even so, you're potentially talking 10 to 15% of all your casts just end up as nothing. Yeah, so that's got us to the 300 open water skill that I was wanting to get to for. It's just, it makes stone skill, eel fishing, so much simpler when you don't have to keep buying the lures. You can just run around, look for the pools. If you find one, great. If you don't, no trouble. But like, you don't want to find a pool and have to spend time putting a lure on only for somebody else to come up and fish it in front of you. Right. I anticipate that is exactly what was intended. Like the way the other rods fall short and require like the aquadynamic fish attractor to cap things. I mean, it's obviously like a Alliance struggle a tiny bit more with that. But it's like it's something that you don't really notice unless you're doing a lot of fishing for the late game fish. And then I can promise you'll find it really irritating. Because if you've got a lure and you're fishing the lower zones, or you've got the plus 20 or 25 skill rod and you're fishing the lower zones, like it doesn't make a lot of difference. I think the biggest impact is probably on Alliance side before the Stranglethorn Vale fishing event actually happens. The most they can get is a 20 skill rod with a 100 skill lure. So even with max fishing and the best rod that they can get, they're still 5 short or 3 short with the glove enchant. But I can't remember exactly when the glove enchant was added to the game, if it was in the base game or whether it came like along the same sort of time that the fishing event did. I don't know if it's available at the moment. But when you've got the fishing event, you've got free, like the rare fish that you fish from the pools. Those they're not common, but they're not impossible to get either. So you can get your plus 20 or 25 skill rod and buff it up enough to the point where you can cap out at least. But the difference that the Arcanite fishing pole makes is the which type of lure you need. It's just a little bit of a nice quality of life, and not having to get the Arcanite things. Uh, the aquadynamic fish attractors crafted through engineering. Like they're actually made at a relatively low level. But like not everybody just crafts them and sticks them on the auction house, you know? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Most people wouldn't have had much of a clue about what was required for the zones. Although it doesn't become too difficult to work out um, at what point you stop getting missed fish. It's relatively easy to determine that, at least. Yeah, most people would have just played and tried to fish and used bigger lures if they were missing stuff. Yeah, what else can you do unless you've got the skill set required to like analyze it in depth, you know? Um, Cooked fish. Five snapper. That can be sold. That can be banked on in there somewhere already. I think. There. They're not one eel on its own, so no. Maybe I used the other eel. Anyway, that can be sold. Um, no, most of it's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. I mean, they had all of the time that vanilla was out to shut down stuff that was exploitable. So anything that is exploitable um, will be known. So like mage AoE farming, for example, is kind of ridiculous. Like warriors have the best endgame DPS, but suck to level. I'm not sure which part of that is an exploit, but you know. Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I mean, it sort of scales fine while leveling. It's only when you hit max level and you're just doing more damage and it's causing slightly more rage gain at certain peak points. That it just makes it bad and breaks it in the end. I mean, even so, it took um it took them like past vanilla for it to be really determined that that was how broken it was, pretty much. So there's that. It held up to scrutiny for a while. Well, see, I've got to go myself soon anyway. I need to eat. So see you later, Ice. Good luck leveling. Yeah. Well, okay. Right. Well, we'll be looking to do a dungeon run, Sunken Temple, when we return. So, let's fly Sunken Temple. So, practically in Swamposaurus, we've got all the things we need. We've got all the quests, we've got all the consumables, we are all set for the dungeon. I do have to call the stream in a minute, and we'll be back later this evening for the dungeon run. Hopefully it won't take too long once we're on to find a group. We'll get that sorted soon enough. Okay. Go in the inn. We'll wait the 1 minute for the evergreen pouch, then we'll use it, and I'll log off for the moment. After Sunken Temple, might look to do Blackrock Depths quest. It would certainly be really good to get a quest run there. Easier to do when, of course, when you're going to be a 57 tank to do that earlier. So that's nice, at least. Right. Come on, last few seconds. All that. I'd rather have bag space, to be honest. Anyway, for now, what we'll say is, as we usually do, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.